Hello and welcome to the Bolton Theory Iceberg livestream. For those watching live, you may have noticed that I'm slightly late by about 10 seconds or so. 10 seconds? Well, you know, your 8 minutes is my 10 seconds. That's what I'm trying to say, Andre. Okay, let's begin. Let's go. Let me sort out my chair. I was finishing up the Iceberg last minute because I couldn't find one online, and I decided to grab a bunch of different people's ideas, theories that I found on Reddit or online, or that had been recommended in my community post comments, and I thought I'd compile them all together, or at least the most interesting ones. So here we are. Let me get some water. I don't think I've been late. I haven't been this late, have I? 8 minutes is late. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let me inform my patrons on the Discord. There we go. Let me get the stream up on my phone, because obviously one monitor still. That way I can see the chat. I know, professional. And let's delve into the iceberg. Haha. As usual, like and subscribe and comment and all that stuff to help grow the channel. And if you have any questions, theories, or you just want me to read out something dumb, send in a super chat. It really helps, because after all, this is my job. So, this is the iceberg. Let's start at the very top. Who have we got? We've got 30 odd people in. Come in. I imagine some people might have dropped out earlier because I was taking my sweet time. Okay, I think we should begin. Yes. So, we're going to start off with this one at the top. The Boltons lose the Battle of Ice. Also, shout out to this picture. I love this picture. This is obviously show Roose, but instead of the voice break. Instead of the drab, sort of black-grey colour scheme in the show, this has been photoshopped to give him red and pink, and it just looks so much better, doesn't it? Like, they could have made Roose Bolton stand out so much, and he's just like a sort of generic-looking dude. Good actor, but generic-looking dude in boring clothing. Like, many viewers didn't even know who he was by Season 4, right? And he was introduced in Season 2. Okay, so the Boltons lose the Battle of Ice. So this is fairly simple. This is the idea that at the start of the Winds of Winter, you'll have the Battle of Ice. Stannis is encamped at the Crofters village with his army of loyal Baratheon supporters, northern clans such as the Norries and the Hulls and the Liddles from the Northern Mountains, and of course sellswords. And Bolton and Frey forces are going out to fight him, and obviously there's I won't go too deep into it. That's on other live streams, I think. But there's the night lamp theory, the idea that Stannis is going to trick within the blizzard. He's going to trick the Freys of Boltons into riding over the lake towards the village, and then they will fall through the ice, and it'll be a massacre. And then the Stannis' struggling army will be able to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, and then march on to Winterfell, and perhaps infiltrate Winterfell, perhaps besiege it, storm it. Perhaps the chaotic conditions inside will culminate in treason, betrayal, murder, conspiracy, whatever. But either way, the idea here is that the Boltons will inevitably lose the Battle of Ice, and it will be Stannis who takes Winterfell. Whether he keeps Winterfell is a different question, but he will most certainly take it. And this is at the top of the iceberg because it's pretty simple. And it's pretty obvious. Like, I think this is almost definitely true. I think narratively, it would be very unsatisfying if, like in the show, Stannis lost the Battle of Winterfell and the Boltons stayed in power. It would be extending the rule of the Boltons for too long and cutting Stannis' story too short, and it would feel kind of meaningless. So I'm inclined to believe this one is true. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something fun. I'm going to post polls in the live chat, and I have live chat replay activated for people who aren't watching live. And I want to know whether you guys believe this theory. So, or each theory. Will the Boltons lose to Stannis? Will be the question. And the poll is up in the chat, so go and vote on that, and we'll see. Let me get all messages up. Hello, everyone. We got new people coming in. That's awesome. Oh, not a clean sweep. Not a clean sweep. We have 75% saying yes, 25% saying no. Interesting. Interesting that there are some people who think the Boltons will win the Battle of Ice. So there's no point in doing a poll for the second one because it is just the inverse. It's this theory, the idea that the Boltons will in fact win against Stannis. Like in the show, Stannis will be defeated, perhaps killed, his army will be destroyed, and the Boltons will hold on to Winterfell. Now, this doesn't mean the Boltons win, because narratively I don't think anyone would agree that the Boltons are going to get out of this alive and victorious. So it could be that they defeat Stannis only to be taken down from the inside by all the forces that despise them within Winterfell, be that just the Northerners, soldiers, men-at-arms, or the specific lords and ladies, so Wyman Manderley, Lady Dustin, Lord Umber, not Lord Umber, sorry, but Horsebane Umber, and so on and so forth. So this one, personally, I don't think this is going to happen for me. As I said, it's the inverse of this one. There's no narrative. It doesn't make much narrative sense for the Boltons to win this battle. Maybe in a sort of grimdark way, they might defeat Stannis and then they're consumed by the chaos within Winterfell. But then that cuts Stannis' story short, and it just feels like, why? Stannis is clearly being portrayed as the underdog in this fight deliberately, so that his victory brings us satisfaction, even though it makes sense for him to be victorious, right? So I think it's George going, how do we make this how do we make sure that this battle is tense and provides relief and satisfaction with Stannis' victory without being too obvious, without being too predictable? Well, you do that by making Stannis the underdog, but giving him an intelligent way and a strategic way to actually succeed. So I think we should descend to the next rung of the iceberg. I don't think that metaphor didn't really carry, did it? And here we have Ramsay with the sausage. Okay, I'm going to confess something. The reason why I was basically 10 minutes late to my own live stream was because I was adding in the side pictures for this iceberg I was making. I was looking at the time, I was looking at the clock, adding the pictures and being like, oh shit. Fun behind the scenes fact. Okay, so in the next rung, let me close the poll. We've had 50 votes in the poll with the Boltons lose to Stannis. We'll wrap up now officially. 78% people say lose, and the rest said the Boltons may win. Hello, Quinn the GM. Quinn is in the chat. Everyone go and subscribe to Quinn the GM. What did you say, Quinn? You're partial to the interpretation that Roose is going to get crushed by collapsing roofs at Winterfell, given how much focus that has in dance. That is actually a theory here, down here. Roose crushed by snow, but we'll delve into that later. This live stream might end up being cut into two parts, one today, one tomorrow, because I've got some stuff to do. But I thought I'd do a stream today. I almost didn't, but I was like, nah, I promise, so I will. So the next theory here, vampire parallels. The idea that the Boltons, I'm not calling them vampires, but I'm saying there's very obvious, in a meta sense, parallels between House Bolton and vampires of mythology. And I mentioned this in my previous stream where I went through my Bolton video. If you extend this, you see the Starks as werewolves, right? Historically, it's a classic fantasy trope that werewolves and vampires are at odds with each other. These two sort of, European mythological beasts. One side associated with creepiness, coldness, eloquence, elegance, cunning, style, vampires, and then the other side's associated with ruthlessness, ruggedness, bestial nature, hairiness, werewolves. And the idea is that the Boltons and Starks, of course, have been enemies, rivals for years, not just as the Red Kings versus the Kings of Winter, but even as Lords of the Dreadfort, even as vassals, as we know from my video, they were constantly rising up in rebellion, and of course this has culminated in Roose's betrayal of Robb Stark at the Red Wedding. And so this rivalry is sort of is given a fun sort of a fun touch by George, in my opinion at least. I do think this is true personally. There's a fun sort of a meta reference to vampires and werewolves, with the Starks being the werewolves. They're a lot more rugged and fierce, and they are skin changers and wargs. And most obviously, their sigil is a wolf compared to the Boltons. There's lots of red imagery and iconography. Their Roose Bolton in particular is very pale because of the leeches, and they're sort of cold and creepy and slender, and they live in a place called the Dreadfort. So I think the Boltons clearly have vampire parallels. You could argue they're inspired by Vlad the Impaler himself, and the Starks are like werewolves. I think I repeat myself a bit too much there. I kind of said the same thing over and over. I'm going back to my old... That's what I do in my really early streams. Before I'm used to it, I just say the same point over and over, and I'm like, oh boy, I'm turning into Preston Jacobs here. Much love to Preston. So yeah, I'm going to do a little poll in the chat. Do you guys believe in the vampire parallels? Do you believe... Actually, no, the question will just be vampire parallels. I'm going to turn off the mic for just a few seconds. Hold on, someone's at the door. Okay, perfect. So while you vote on that, go over to vote on that if you want. I will check the super chats. We've had a couple of super chats. So first off, thank you very much for Coleshot, a great patron of mine, for saying it's so over, Bolton Bros. So over. It's only just begun, Coleshot. It's only just begun. And a super chat from another great patron of mine, Key. The Boltons are Romanians, actually. Key with that Romanian representation. Yeah, a definite sort of Vlad the Impaler parallels there. Thinking of northern lords in this vast snowy land, I imagine Gurm was at least partly inspired by aspects of medieval Eastern Europe or the medieval Balkans. So, how's the poll doing? 74% say yes, vampire parallels. That's basically the same as last time. We have 25% saying no. Yeah, I'll end it now. 25% saying no. I've heard a great theory, which is on every poll ever, 25% of people will always vote the wrong way. You see it consistently. There's always like a 25 that just get it wrong. No offense to you 25% who voted no. I am curious. Let me know in the chat. Why do you say no? Are you saying that, no, George isn't deliberately invoking, vampiric parallels? I'm just reading too much into it. Lord Haven's DoorDash must have arrived. Closer than you think. Okay, so let's move on to the next theory. This is a more conventional theory. Ramsay wrote the pink letter. So, for those who haven't delved into the deep, dark abyss of a Song of Ice and Fire theories in the fandom, you'll probably think, how is this a theory? Because what happened at the end of A Dance with Dragons is that Jon Snow receives a letter with a pink wax seal. It appears to be written in blood, I believe, and it's signed by Ramsay Bolton himself, and it's an extremely dark, twisted, provocative letter, basically saying, listen up, Jon Snow, I've defeated Stannis, I've killed him, I have his sword. Mance Rayder, who you sent to the castle to rescue, Arya Stark, aka Jane Paul, I've kidnapped him. He has a cloak of all the spear wives who came with him. I skinned them. He's in a cage. I'm torturing him. Theon and Arya Stark, again, Jane Paul, have escaped Winterfell, and if they come to the wall, you better give them back to me, or else I'm going to ride up there and I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to take my reek back and take Arya back, and I'm going to take the Red Woman as well, and all this stuff. And it's so, and he like very aggressively keeps calling Jon a bastard and so on, and he calls himself true-born heir of the true-born Lord of Winterfell, or true-born heir to the Dreadfort or something. And of course this enrages Jon Snow so much that he rises up with in anger and tries to stoke up the wildlings who are indebted to him to come with him. Like, let's go to Winterfell and let's take back what's ours. But of course this leads to his assassination during the rather chaotic mutiny led by Bowen Marsh. However, various theories have arisen since A Dance with Dragons was released, saying that, accusing all manner of characters of having actually written the pink letter. The idea is that it's almost too obvious that Ramsay wrote the pink letter, and that there has to be something more nefarious behind it. Because, first off, the implication is that Stannis is dead, and that Stannis' battle has, Stannis' army has been destroyed. Why would Ramsay boast about that? Why would that happen off page? Why would we go from hearing about Stannis' army marching onto Winterfell from the perspective of Asher, only to then, in a Jon chapter via a letter, learn, oh yeah, he was defeated? Was Mance Rayder really captured that easily? And there are various things about the letter that confuses people, that raises questions. And there are different theories about who actually wrote it. Some people say Mance Rayder wrote it because he wanted to stir up trouble. He wanted to stir up Jon and the wildlings and get them to come south to basically aid him, because he saw that the situation was dire. Maybe Stannis wrote the letter. Maybe he was being tricksy. He was being sneaky, sort of, again, trying to get the wildlings to come down and help his army, because he wasn't in the best. He's not in the best situation at the Crofters' village and the blizzard. Perhaps it was Wyman Manderley. Perhaps it was, I don't know, Horsebane Umber. Perhaps it was Euron Greyjoy. There are loads of theories about who wrote the letter. This theory is claiming that it's as presented on the page. Ramsay did in fact write the pink letter, full stop. The fans have read too much into it because we've been going insane from the lack of wins, and we came up with all these elaborate theories and conspiracies, and the truth of the matter is that Ramsay just wrote the letter, and that's the end. But I think we can go deeper. Some people have theorised that, and I'm inclined to lean this way somewhat, only because I'm not a fan of literally everything under the sun being a conspiracy. But part of me thinks, what if it was written by Ramsay, but it's incorrect? So either Ramsay's lying, or he doesn't know. So again, you may think, what would the purpose be if he's lying? Maybe he has false information. So let's say, yes, he has actually captured Mance Rayder, he has flayed his spearwives, and he is torturing him for information, and that's how he knows about Jon and Melisandre sending him to Winterfell. But perhaps the Night Lamp, perhaps Stannis won the Battle of Ice, and the Night Lamp theory is correct, and the Freys and the Bolton forces fell through the ice, and Stannis won, and he's marching on Winterfell, but he wants to create the impression that they have lost. And what better way than to send the Manderleys back, who are on their side, because of course Wyman is a traitor, to the Boltons, of course. And perhaps some people theorised sort of Stannis' troops wearing Frey armour after the battle, and basically marching back with Stannis' sword saying, we did it, we killed Stannis Baratheon, we destroyed his army, here's the sword as proof. And they all march into Winterfell, and then they'll sort of Trojan horse it. and take it out from within. And so Ramsay's letter, half of it is true, Mance Rayder, half of it is based on false information, so Stannis being defeated. And the rest of it is he genuinely wants Arya Stark and Theon back, and he suspects they might try and flee to the wall. But could be all kind of stuff. So I'm going to say let's put it to a vote. Let's put it to a vote, baby. Let's go with Ramsay wrote the pink letter. See, this will be interesting because I know I'll put some options. So I will say yes. Yeah, yes, it is how it appears. So basically just full on yes, full stop. Then the next option will be yes, based on false information. So Ramsay wrote it, but because he's been tricked by Stannis. And the other one is no, someone else wrote it. And I think if no wins, then we can have another poll to see who people think the real writer was. Because I think the majority of people are going to vote no. It's a very popular theory that it wasn't. So while I'm going to check the chat while people are casting their votes. Yes, Quinn the GM has a video about the pink letter where he accuses Lord Wyman Manderley of being the man to write it. Some people talk about how the wax is smeared, how Ramsay uses the phrase "crow" in the letter. He calls Jon Snow a crow. A crow, and this is a term that's a derogatory term against black brothers of the Night's Watch used by wildlings. So that's why people say, well, it must be Mance Rayder, because no southerner, so to speak, would use the term crows. Boomler says he likes the idea that Ramsay is working on false information from Wyman Manderley. Yeah, imagine that the Manderley troops come back, maybe some Stannis troops dressed as Freys. Hostine and Aenys are dead. Shout out to Aenys Frey. They come back, they say, yep, we defeated Stannis, lots of us died, here's a sword as proof. And they're let back into the castle, and they're preparing and Ramsay writes that letter as the forces inside are preparing for some kind of, I guess, coup. Some kind of action. Okay, so we have 40 votes so far. If anyone else listening wants to jump in and vote, you can. I understand not everyone is able to vote. Some people are listening to this at work. Some my American fans, my American viewers. The fact he writes bastard so many times makes it Ramsay because he's very insecure about his parentage. Yeah, it does. It seems like a very Ramsay thing to do. Master of projection. Okay, so 53% of people have said, no, it's not Ramsay. 33% have said, yes, but it's based on false information. And only 14% of people have said, yes, the letter is as it's portrayed to the reader. And we're reading too much into it. So I'll end the poll round about now. Interesting. So if you lot are saying no, I'm going to do another poll. And I'm going to say, who wrote the pink letter? Because I think the main culprits are Mance Rayder, Stannis, and then Wyman Manderley, the Quinn the GMs. That's everyone, right? I think those are the main culprits. Okay. So the poll is up. Feel free to vote in that. And while you're voting, I will move on to the next part. I'll descend deeper down this iceberg. We've gone past the tip. And we're delving into the freezing cold water, where the rest lies in wait for passing ships like the Titanic, or innocent readers who don't realise the insanity that encompasses the Song of Ice and Fire fandom. So the next theory is Ramsay kills Roose. So in the show, we have this scene where Ramsay shanks Roose Bolton, and Roose awkwardly slumps. I'm not going to lie, it's a terrible scene, in my opinion. He awkwardly slumps to his knees and then falls back after being stabbed in like the stomach. It's a very quick death. And then Ramsay says he was poisoned by his enemies, and then Lord Karstark is sitting there, and apparently he's chill, so he must have known about it. And the mace is just standing there like, what the fuck? It's very confusing. And it seems like was it planned or was it spontaneous? Because Maester Walden mentioned Fat Walder's child being a boy. I don't know. But there are many reasons behind. Wait, let me just so lots of people have different reasons for Ramsay killing Roose, or the next theory is Roose killing Ramsay. The idea that these are both, psychopathic, unstable men, the father and the son, and that in their destructive nature, one will inevitably slay the other. This theory I have as slightly more likely, just because Roose is more cunning and calculating and cold-hearted, and Ramsay is a bit more unpredictable, violent, mercurial. You could see Ramsay taking an action like this, even if it ends up dooming House Bolton. And of course, the fact that it happens in a show implies that perhaps there were notes left by George R. R. Martin that said that was the plan all along, and they sort of adapted it and had the shanking scene. So Ramsay may be violent and unpredictable, but he does display a certain level of cunning, and it's clear that he wants to be Lord of the Dreadful. He's Lord of Winterfell, but maybe he wants more power. Maybe he wants to be the man on top. Perhaps as Stannis closes in on Winterfell, slurring my speech a bit. I haven't drunk anything, I promise. As Stannis closes in on Winterfell, Ramsay will panic and murder Roose and flee to the Dreadfort. We'll talk about that specific scenario in a later theory, further down the iceberg. But yeah, why would he do this beyond being crazy, being scared of Stannis attacking and sort of throwing Roose to the wolves and so on? Well, because he's paranoid. He's a bastard. He's very insecure about the fact that he's a bastard. And even though he's been legitimised, Roose is married to Fat Walder Frey, and it's possible that Fat Walder will give birth to a boy, and he doesn't want to be usurped. That's the reason in the show. He doesn't want a male heir to take over and be legitimised. Perhaps Ramsay will kill Roose in the chaos and we'll get away with it. It could be anyone in that castle. Maybe it'll be a pink letter situation. Actually, speaking of pink letter, I'll wrap up the poll because I don't want it to cover too much of that. So 57% think Mance wrote the pink letter, 12% say Stannis. I think Stannis is low because he doesn't come across as the kind of person who would use these kind of sneaky tactics, whereas Mance certainly does. And 33% say Wyman, and all 33% I think are alternate Quinn the GM accounts. Cool. So I think there'll be like a pink letter situation where perhaps we see Roose Bolton's carcass. He's brutally murdered in some way or another, and you don't know who the culprit is. A bit like Little Walder Frey. There are all these mysterious murders going on. There are different culprits. Maybe all this chaos will culminate in Roose Bolton's death. No one will know who it was. Was it Wyman Manderley, one of his men? Was it Barbary Dustin or one of his men? Was it an Umber? A Locke? A Karstark? Not a Karstark, because the Karstarks are with Stannis, actually. They're planning to turn coat. Was it Ramsay? So it could be a kind of mysterious Roose dies, and it literally could have been anyone, and there's no way of knowing, which could be quite fun. Like, we could hear, because we don't currently have any POVs in Winterfell, we could hear from outside that Roose has died, and we're just never going to know how. But yeah, Ramsay killing Roose. Personally, I think this is kind of disappointing. I get it, thematically, the fact that a vile act Roose committed 2 decades ago comes back to destroy House Bolton. It's the straw that breaks the camel's back after everything else. After all the people who hate him, it's his own family that takes him down. It's an unruly child he never took time to actually care for and raise properly. And it could set up Ramsay as an endgame villain if he escapes. A villain for Stannis, or for Rickon, or for Jon Snow. We'll go into that later. But it's a bit disappointing to me, because Roose is a very intelligent, cunning man, and for a second I don't buy all the bullshit about, oh, yeah, Ramsay killed Daenerys, but I don't really care. Ramsay's probably going to kill all the children I have with Walder Frey, but I don't care, I'd rather have Ramsay as the Lord than some child. for him to so blatantly know that Ramsay is an insane, murderous man, and then if Ramsay ends up killing him, it's like, oh, I didn't see this coming. My crazy son has killed me. Like, it would make Roose come across as an idiot. It'd be like, really? Like that's the issue. It feels like this is what's expected to happen. Ramsay killing Roose is like the boring expectation, and Gurm likes to deal in pulling the rug out from under you, some subversion. So I feel like it won't be as simple as this, and it certainly won't be as it was portrayed on the show. Shout out to this loving embrace. I guess I kind of like how they tried to replicate Roose stabbing Robb with Ramsay stabbing Roose, with the kind of embrace and then the aiming for the heart. There we go. Well, that'll be the subject of the next poll. Big fan of these polls. It's kind of fun. Ramsay kills Roose, yes or no? Time to decide. Will Ramsay kill Roose? And while we're voting on that, that's now out in the chat. It's time to explore the opposite theory. Will Roose kill Ramsay? And I only have this as slightly less likely because of what happened in the show. But the theory here is that Roose is smart. Ramsay may have low cunning, but Roose is a very smart man here. He doesn't trust Ramsay. He believes that Ramsay killed his son. As I said before, he believes Ramsay will kill any children that Roose has with Fat Walder Frey. And he tells Reek, oh, a child lord of the bane of it is the bane of any house. It's better that Ramsay is my heir. And he knows that there's a chance Reek will relay this information back to Ramsay. So he's telling Reek what he wants Ramsay to hear, which is, you know, he's my heir, he's going to be the future lord, I don't really care. That's fine. To lull him into a full sense of security, to protect himself. And he also tells Reek that all of Ramsay's friends and allies are his spies. The Bastards boys, who I explored in my video somewhat, you know. Skinner, Luton, Sour Allen, Ben Bones, Damon Dance for Me, and so on and so on. And if Roose is spying on him, and if Roose is playing these mind games, and if he's a clearly intelligent man, how would he get into a situation where Ramsay actually kills Roose? So it has to be that Roose murders Ramsay, right? It has to be the other way around. In the show, they didn't do much with Roose, but they really liked Ramsay, and Ramsay's actor, whose name I always forget. Ewan Ryan, that's it. They really liked Ewan Ryan, and they thought that he would be a good sort of contrast. You know, in the show he's more like the Joker of Westeros, and he's a Black Mirror to Jon Snow. And they wanted Bastardbowl, and they thought, okay, we need one to kill the other. Roose is a bit boring. Let's go with Ramsay. Whereas in the books, perhaps Roose will murder Ramsay, only to be killed himself. I don't think this is going to happen. Personally, I think Ramsay will outlast Roose. I think that makes more sense. I just don't want Ramsay to kill Roose, because I think that's too obvious. But maybe Roose will kill his son in a last-ditch effort. Things are chaotic. Things are dangerous. I do not trust you. Let's kill him prematurely. Because if it's genuinely, oh yeah, Roose, my son is crazy and he's a murderer and he killed my son, but I don't care because I don't care about anything because I'm a psychopath. And he's going to kill all my children with Fat Walder, but I don't care. He might kill me, but I don't care because House Bolton will live on. That's kind of boring to me. That's kind of like, that feels convenient to me. You know, that feels like, oh well, he doesn't care, so Ramsay can get away with it. Like, no, come on, let's not make Roose Bolton this super irrational dude. He's a scumbag, but he's not super rational. Right. How's the poll doing? We have 50 votes in about, and the yes side are winning with 53%. So it seems like most people think Ramsay will kill Roose, but it's close. It is very close. It's 52 to 48%. This is some American election shit. Oh, it's 51 to 49. It's very close, actually. I'll let that poll going for a little bit longer, actually, because it's only been 3 minutes. We got 50 votes. We get a few more people voting. Oh, it's jumping between 50. Oh, that's fun. What do you guys think? Who do you think? Quinn thinks that Walder's infant child will walk into Stannis and kill them both. Yo, the new Lord of the Dreadfort. That's badass. Just some random kid. Okay, so let's move on to the next theory while that poll continues, which is Bastardbowl but real. I'll get a drink. Remember to stay hydrated, fellas. Okay, so the theory here is that what happened in the show or something similar will go down in the books. So in the show, Ramsay sends the show version of the pink letter, which is somewhat similar, uses the same phrase, come and see, to enrage Jon Snow, and he does in fact march down with wildlings and a few northern supporters. In the show there are some Mormonts and Hornwoods and Masons, who are named after Craig Mazin, who helped Game of Thrones get off the ground and actually pushed HBO into continuing remaking the pilot and continuing the season because he saw potential in it. Shout out to Craig Mazin, by the way. He went on to create Chernobyl and then The Last of Us HBO show. Whoa, that was a tangent. Anyway, so yeah, Bastardbowl. Where was I? Yes, so Jon Snow then attacks Winterfell, and then you have the big fight, and then they're saved by Deus Ex, Knights of the Vale. Actually, no, Knights of the Vale Ex Machina. That makes more sense. The Knights of the Vale from the machine, out of nowhere. And my theory, the theory here isn't that that's what will go down in a book. It's, in fact, the idea here is that there will be Bastardbowl, but it won't be at Winterfell. It will be at the Dreadfort. I didn't see that coming, did you? So before we jump into that one, I am going to end the poll. 70... Oh, no, people are still voting in it. Oh, it's 50-50. Okay, no, I'm not touching that poll. 50... Are you kidding me? 50-50 with 72 votes. Ramsay kills Roose, yes versus no. Okay, I'm keeping that up. We need a definitive winner. Okay. For those who haven't voted in the poll, go and vote in that poll. But yes, the idea here is that Winterfell will inevitably fall, and Roose Bolton will inevitably die, but Ramsay will escape, and he will flee to the Dreadfort, and Jon Snow will be resurrected, and he'll be changed, perhaps more darker, more ruthless, furious, and he will want to face off against Ramsay, because they are interesting parallels. We have the Bastard of Winterfell versus the Bastard of the Dreadfort, the Bastard of Stark versus the Bastard of Bolton. One of them is a sort of, honourable, noble, ultimately good person. The other one is a brutal serial killer, rapist, psychopath. And, Bastardbowl. Jon versus Ramsay is a good matchup. It's a good matchup, and it also gives a satisfying end point to the pink letter. Assuming Ramsay did write the pink letter, that antagonism that's built up due to that, that's given a true purpose. So the idea is that Ramsay will flee to the Dreadfort, Jon Snow will rise up resurrected, get his wildling army, and he will march on the Dreadfort and fight against Ramsay Snow. And perhaps Stannis will join him. Maybe at this point Stannis is dead and Jon becomes king. I'm not entirely sure. But you may be thinking, okay, so what's the basis for this theory beyond the fact that it happened in the show and that there's definitely obvious parallels between Jon Snow and Ramsay and that they make good foils, right? Ramsay's a good foil for Jon. Well, it all comes back to Season 4 of Game of Thrones. So Episode 2 of Season 4 is called The Lion and the Rose, and you may remember that as the wedding between Joffrey and Margaery Tyrell. But there are a few other scenes, and one of those scenes include Ramsay hunting a girl down with his dogs with the help of Miranda and Reek. And apparently in the notes for that script, there was going to be a scene, I believe, I got to double check this, but there was going to be a scene that showcased Ramsay's hounds more, that sort of really gave attention to them, maybe gave them names, bigged them up as a threat, and so on and so forth. And that didn't really happen in the show. They ended up cutting it. But the reason he gave in the notes that were released or leaked or whatever, George said, we need to showcase the hounds more for their confrontation with the direwolves. And I'm paraphrasing here. I can't remember what the exact quote was, but George, for some reason, believed that in the future of the show, there was going to be a showdown between the direwolves and Ramsay's dogs. Now, maybe that was something that they planned for the show. Maybe even as early as season 4, they said, look, we're going to do Stannis losing Battle of Ice, we're going to do Bastardbowl, and then Gurm said, okay, well, if you're doing Bastardbowl, we can have direwolves versus hounds, so let's set them up. Or maybe this is always meant to happen in the book. Maybe Bastardbowl is supposed to happen outside of the Dreadfort after Ramsay flees Winterfell, and we are going to see Jon and Ghost fighting against Ramsay and his dogs, and we will have a Ghost on hound action, wolves versus dogs. That makes me think it could happen, because what other situation could that happen? What other situation could Ramsay's hounds be fighting against direwolves? Well, there's one other direwolf who is realistically able to take part in that fight. Summer is too far north, Nymeria is in the Riverlands, and so on, but Shaggy Dog. And actually, we're kind of skipping a theory. We're going down to this one, which is Rickon kills Ramsay. We'll go into this one next. The idea here is that, based on George's direwolf versus hounds comment, it won't be Jon Snow and Ghost, but it'll be Rickon and Shaggy Dog coming from Skargos, delivered by Davos, because Davos is sent by Wyman to rescue Rickon Stark and install him as Lord of Winterfell, or maybe King of the North, depending on Wyman's plans. We don't fully know. But the idea would be that he brings him back. Maybe Rickon is a lord under Stannis, maybe Stannis dies and he becomes king or whatever, but he leads the charge against Ramsay, and we have Shaggy Dog versus the Hounds. Or, of course, it's a mixture. Perhaps Rickon and Jon team up, and we have Shaggy Dog and Ghost versus Ramsay and the Hounds, and you've got a fun parallel there, maybe. But yeah, again, maybe George's notes were there, they were show exclusive, or maybe they were teasing something that will happen in the books. We don't yet know. But what do you guys think? We're going to end the poll. Okay, so the poll has 80 votes. Ramsay kills Roose has 80 votes, and it's 51 to 49. Genuinely. 51 to 49. I'm going to end it now. 80 votes is a good round number. The majority of you believe that yes, Ramsay will kill Roose. Okay. But I love how tight that was. I love how close that was. It was really good. Right. So the new poll will be... Will Bastardbowl happen? So yes or no? So I'm going to tie these theories together, kind of. So Bastardbowl, Jon versus Ramsay, but also maybe Rickon versus Ramsay. I know that wouldn't be Bastardbowl, but direwolves versus hounds. What's everyone saying then in the chat? Someone hopes Rickon kills Ramsay with Shaggy Dog. Oh, there's a theory I haven't added to this iceberg. I didn't add Ramsay getting eaten by dogs, which happens in the show. Okay, yes. I will... Okay, well, I'll add that now. Where would that be on the iceberg? I think that's around here. Oh, I've got a double Rickon kills Ramsay. Didn't expect that. Okay. So in that case, this second Rickon kills Ramsay can be replaced with Ramsay's hounds eat him, which is what happened in the show. But before we go into that, we're going to have to go to this one, because we skipped this one, which is, in this theory, are you ready for this? Roose will be poisoned by his enemies. That's what happens in the show, at least according to Ramsay. Ramsay... It's really stupid. After Ramsay kills Roose, he's like, he was poisoned by his enemies, which is clearly the message he wants his maester to give out, to sort of send it to the north. Ramsay's now the Lord of Winterfell because Roose was poisoned by his enemies, whoever his enemies are. It's kind of vague. then I think he brings it up a second time. Isn't there a second time when he says poisoned by his enemies? I'm not sure. But it's a dumb line and people have sort of memed it. But what if it's based on a kernel of truth? What if George told them, listen, when Winterfell was ensconced in a blizzard and all the Northerners are at each other's throats, Roose will mysteriously die from poison and everyone will blame each other. Similar to what I said earlier about how Ramsay could kill Roose and get away with it because anyone could be to blame. What if Roose is specifically poisoned? So there's no way of knowing, the style of the person who killed him. He wasn't flayed or brutally stabbed or beheaded. He's just poisoned. He likes to sip Hippocras. He likes to sip hot spice wine. Maybe someone drops some poison there and he dies. And then maybe George told this to D&D and they went, okay, well, we're not going to do the whole Winterfell stuff. We're just going to do Battle of the Bastards. But maybe we can do a nodding, like a cheeky knowing reference to this plot point by having Ramsay say, he was poisoned by his enemies. Maybe. I'm inclined to think it's just bad writing, but maybe not. Thank you for the super chat from Jack, who says, how much do you think the show has influenced Gurm? That's a good question. Because I feel like he would say it hasn't, but I think it would be impossible for it not to. I think early on, it did influence him in the sense of he gave more screen time to more characters, or rather, more page time to more characters. Maybe he saw a performance on the show and would go, oh, I like how they play that character, I'm going to give them more lines, give them more to do. In fact, he's actively said he gave Osha more to do in Winter because he liked what's her name's portrayal of Osha in the show. Although then she disappeared and was later killed by Ramsay, but this was before that happened. And then in terms of late Game of Thrones, maybe I don't think it's necessarily changed his trajectory story-wise. I think it's probably just increased the pressure of, okay, these things that I'm doing, I need to properly justify them. The narrative has to justify it. It has to be believable. I can't let them down. So, yeah, I think it's contributed to stress. Of course it's going to influence the writing. I don't believe he's just going to outright change things and go, well, that wasn't my idea. Because he has come out and said, yeah, a lot of the ending is what's going to happen, and yeah, this is going to happen, and so on. But thank you for the question, and thank you for the super chat. If anyone else has a super chat, then I'll read out whatever you have to say. I'll answer your question, see your suggestion or theory, or if you just want to support the channel, it's up to you, isn't it? Okay, so let's go back down to the second Rickon kills Ramsay, which I tried to turn into, what was it? Ramsay's dogs will eat him. So this is an easy one because in the show, Ramsay is eaten by dogs. Probably doesn't even belong in this part of the iceberg, but I thought I'd put it there. In the show, he's eaten by his dogs. In the books, it would be fitting, just generally, for this character to have a brutal, gruesome death. The horrible fate he's inflicted on others come back to quite literally bite him in the arse. And there's some poetic justice in the fact that he names his hounds after the women who have provided him a good hunt. And it's almost like the spirits of those women getting their revenge and tearing him apart. So that's, yeah. Oh, okay, I will slide in another theory. I don't know where this goes on the iceberg, but it's all coming to me now. Here's another cheeky theory. It's another Ramsay death one, so they all kind of go together. But the prologue of A Storm of Swords is about Chet, who's the son of a leechman, and he's a murderer and he's sent to the wall. Kind of Ramsay parallels. And there's a certain line there, which is that he's bemoaning his shit life at the wall, and he said, yeah, there'll be nothing for the leechman's son but a wildling sword in the belly. And some people have said, okay, George does a lot of that kind of foreshadowing, where it's a one-off line that has a clever double meaning. For example, Jon Snow explains that he's not fighting Joffrey because bastards aren't allowed to hurt princes. The joke being the Not the joke, but the witty foreshadowing being that Joffrey is the bastard, while Jon potentially is the real prince. And likewise, it could be, the only thing for the Leechman's son, aka Ramsay, the son of the Leech Lord, is a wildling sword in the belly. So maybe he will fight against Jon Snow and will be slain by one of his wildlings. But that implies that George R. Martin planned Ramsay's fate from as early as the prologue of A Song of Swords, which I'm not entirely sure. And even if he did plan it that way, he could have changed his mind over time. So, okay, so with 64 votes, interestingly, 64% of people have said yes, Bastardbowl will happen. So you guys think, most of you think, that in the books, we will see another Jon versus Ramsay clash will inevitably happen, or at least a Rickon versus Ramsay clash. Okay. In that case, I'll do another poll, which is... I won't do the Roose poisoned by his enemies, because that one's a bit of a meme. But I'll do one about... Will Ramsay be eaten by his dogs? So the poll is up in the chat. Go and vote if you so desire. Will Ramsay be eaten by his hounds? Right. So let's descend even further to the very bottom of the iceberg. Their next theory is Roose will be crushed. Let me double check, yeah. Roose will be crushed by Snow. And no, I don't mean Jon Snow, although I'm not going to put that at 0%. Maybe that's 0.5% likely that Jon will just sit on him. But Roose crushed by Snow. So the idea here, Quinn alluded to this earlier in the chat. I don't know who came up with this theory, but the idea here is that Winterfell is a bit of a ruin because obviously Ramsay sacked it and burned it down, and that a lot of it had to be quickly rebuilt in order to restore Winterfell and give it to Ramsay and create this aura of legitimacy. And he marries Jane Poole and they're pretending it's Arya Stark, and it's all about the illusion of legitimacy, with Ramsay being Lord of Winterfell. And the idea is that, Winterfell was trapped in a insane blizzard, a maelstrom of snow, and it's piling up all over the place. And of the many mysterious deaths and murders that happen throughout Winterfell, there's one man-at-arms, I believe, who is crushed when a stable collapses. Maybe. Like some horses die. Or was it a kennel? I can't remember. But I think a man-at-arms dies from being crushed by snow. And so the idea behind this theory is that with all of the damaged buildings and the roofs that were quickly rebuilt, and with slave labour, by the way, I think Roose Bolton forced all the squatters in Winterfell to build it, and then he hanged them afterwards. So it's, slave labour, quickly rebuilding stuff. There's a blizzard, load of snow is piling up on top. The theory is that eventually the snow will crash and the ceiling will collapse on Roose Bolton and crush him, which sort of has a few implications there, in terms of poetic justice. You could argue it's Roose being slain by the North itself, the land and the people he's inflicted horrors on, that he's betrayed. It's like, nature itself, the snow itself of the North has got its revenge on him and kills him. Maybe there's something darkly funny about the fact that everyone under the sun wants to kill him, and yet it's some snow, it's natural disaster that takes him out. Perhaps it's maybe a nod to Jon Snow. Maybe if Jon Snow fights Ramsay, then you can say that House Bolton was wiped out by snow in two different ways. But yeah, I'm not sure if there's anything more to this theory exactly. If it goes beyond that, let me know in the chat or the comments if it does. But that's what I know about the theory so far. Oh, and thank you for the super chat from Coleshot, who says, it would be ironic if Ramsay dies through poison. Yes, that's a good point. Ramsay could die through poison. He's not known to shy away from poison, having poisoned Daenerys Bolton. as you see in my video, clinking the glass together. Maybe, although it would be ironic, but I don't see it happening. I think death by poison suits Roose. I don't think it quite suits Ramsay. It's a bit too low-key of a death for someone like Ramsay. I think he's going to go out pretty brutally. Okay, so the poll is 4 minutes old, and there are 54 votes. The yes side currently have it. 57% of people have said that yes, Ramsay will be eaten by his dogs. I think we can stop the poll there. Interesting. So far, you lot believe that Bastardbowl will happen, that Ramsay will kill Roose, and that Roose will be eaten by his dogs. So what you're saying is, the majority of you think that what's going to happen in the books is Season 6 all over again. It's basically Season 6, but hopefully presented in a better way. Cool. So the next poll, I think, will be... I'll do this. This is a quick one. Don't mind the tapping ASMR. Will Roose Bolton be crushed by snow? Will nature itself take him out in a sudden burst of cruel irony? Let's see. Roose will be killed by leeches or bleeding. Oh, imagine you poison his leeches. And then he puts the leeches on them and they bite him and then they poison him. I saw one person... I did a community post saying... talking about Roose Bolton, saying, what do you think his fate will be? How do you think he'll die? And someone said that he could die from blood loss. That he just puts so many leeches on, he just dies. He just passes out and dies. That'd be very anticlimactic. In fact, we're sort of moving past all of the theories that involve certain characters dying in certain orders. So I think we'll take a quick break, and I'm going to read out some of the comments on my community post about how people think Roose Bolton is going to die. And I might do a community post in a couple of days asking about what people think about Ramsay. But let's run through these. So let's have a look. So someone said... oh wait, hold on. That's the wrong one. There we go. It's that one. Someone said Stannis will take him out eventually, so potentially Roose will be captured by Stannis and... Oh, actually, not beheaded, but burned at the stake. That's something I didn't add to the Iceberg. The idea that if Stannis captures Winterfell and actually captures Roose Bolton alive, well, he's going to be sacrificed, isn't he? Because he's an enemy of Stannis. Stannis is a follower of the Lord of Light. A lot of his supporters are fervent R'hllorists. Perhaps Roose will meet his end burning to death at a pyre. Maybe in his last moments he will finally display pain, fear, strong emotions. Or maybe he won't. Maybe he'll accept his death and he'll go out quietly, as apathetic in death as he was in life. Who knows? Someone said it would be funny and ironic if he was flayed. Maybe. I don't think there's time for that. Like, the only person who would do it would be Ramsay or one of his bastards boys like Skinner. I think if Ramsay's going to kill him, it's a bit much to murder him and then flay him. I feel like any murder would be sort of chaotic in the moment. Someone said as long as it isn't the shit death D&D gave him in the show, I'll be happy. What do you mean you don't like Ramsay hugging him and then awkwardly stabbing him in the stomach and then he slides to the floor and does a slut drop and dies? Okay, someone said that Roose will murder Ramsay. That basically Roose will have a final bout of madness and sadism. That he's kind of a beast in human skin and he's been restraining himself, and maybe the leeches sucking out the bad blood, that's all about... Don't mind the plane. Sucking out the bad blood is all about getting the evil out. And he'll just, after all the tension and pressure and stress, he will snap and he will murder Ramsay and Fat Walder brutally, and he'll be this sort of, maybe. Yeah, someone said frozen to death, buried in snow. Flayed by Ramsay, again, that's no. Killed by Ramsay like in the show, but in a more brutal way, that's a good idea. Random internet guy. If you want to subscribe to him, you can. He does some chill Game of Thrones videos. He said on this community post that perhaps at Ramsay's hand if the roof crushes him. So I was talking about the snow destroying the roof of Winterfell and crushing Roose Bolton, and it's in the pole. But what if it's at Ramsay's hand? Maybe it's not natural at all. Maybe it's not the North itself getting revenge. Maybe it's an assassination attempt. Because that would be a pretty brutal mass assassination attempt, wouldn't it? Crushing everyone in the hall with snow. Maybe. Quite a few people think he's going to be crushed in these comments. Someone said Roose Bolton x Daenerys. So that's cool. Okay. Right, okay, so I think it's time to wrap up the poll and move on to the next theory. Further down the iceberg. In fact, yes, the very bottom, the very base of the iceberg, we have Bolton. Probably the most famous Bolton theory out there. You could argue that perhaps Bolton belonged... Excuse me, don't know what happened to my voice there. You could argue that Bolton belonged right at the top of the iceberg, because it is the most famous theory, but I thought it's inherently weird, so I pushed it further down. Excuse me. Okay, so 59 votes 5 minutes ago. No is winning rather substantially. So most people believe that no, Roose Bolton won't be crushed by snow, which makes sense because most of you think that Ramsay will kill him. So that was a bit of a pointless poll, actually, now that I think about it. Right, okay. Yes. So Bolton is a fun one. Bolton is a classic. I think it's one of AltShiftX's earliest videos. So the idea behind this is that Roose Bolton is a strange man. He's creepy. He's ageless. He's constantly described as looking young and old at the same time. I think Reek says he doesn't really have any wrinkles, that he's well past 40, but he looks like could be a young man. But his eyes. Cold, pale eyes. What was it? Paler than a stone, darker than milk, or something like that. The idea behind Bolton is that Roose is an immortal vampire creature. Not necessarily a vampire, but an immortal being that wears the skin of his descendants so that he can stay as Lord of the Dreadfort forever. So somewhere in the past there was some immortal Bolton. And the reason why they flay skin is because he flays the skin of his descendants and wears them and pretends to be them. And the one trait that passes through all of these Boltons are the pale blue eyes. So that's the idea with Bolton. So to delve into this a bit more, that means that yes, Roose's plan in the books, according to this theory, is that he inevitably wants to kill Ramsay, flay him, wear his skin, and then pretend to be Ramsay as the new lord. Yeah. So where's the evidence for this beyond, just the fact that he's kind of creepy and ageless? Well, we know that wearing a face and becoming a new person visually, physically, is possible. It's the faceless men. Whatever strange magic the faceless men practice, it allows them to wear people's faces and transform their physicality. Excuse me. And even their voice. Actually, I don't know if the faceless men, whether the magic changes their voice or whether they just put on a different voice because that's part of their skill. I'm not sure. But I digress. We know that Roose refuses to kill Ramsay. Because think about it. A bastard son is delivered to his doorstep. He says, that's not mine. But then he sees Ramsay's pale blue eyes and then says, okay, I must keep him alive. And I'll send his mother chickens and grain and coins. Why? Why not ignore her? Or why not kill the baby? We know he's a psychopath. We know he's a murderer. Barbary Dustin says Roose Bolton has more cruelty in his pinky finger than Ramsay has at all, right? That was badly phrased, you know what I mean. So why wouldn't he just kill Ramsay? Well, the idea here... Oh yeah, and the reason Roose gives is that it would be kinslaying, and he doesn't want to kill his family because that's a taboo. But that's a ridiculous argument, because Roose has broken many taboos. He breaks the first night. He's a murderer. He's a kingslayer. So it's okay to be a kingslayer, but not a kinslayer. Interesting. It's okay to break the ancient custom of to break the ancient custom of guest right, but not the ancient tradition of, denouncing kinslaying. Does that make sense? Well, no. The reason Roose wants to keep Ramsay alive, the reason why he kept him alive after seeing him as a baby with his eyes, isn't because he said, oh yes, I have some connection with the child. It's because he needs someone with pale eyes, and guess what? Daenerys Bolton didn't have them. We don't know that for a fact, but the theory purports that... excuse me while the plane goes by yet again. The theory purports that Daenerys had normalised maybe the eyes of his mother, Bethany Bolton. And Roose saw a child with pale blue eyes and went, that's the child I need. That should be my heir. So that when I do skin change... Again, the idea of this theory is that when you skin change or flay and wear someone's skin or whatever... Not skin change, that's something... Skin changing in a different context here. When you use ancient Bolton magic to flay people and wear their skin, your eyes stay the same. That's not the case with the faceless men, so the theory, I'm not sure what the theory is talking about. But the idea is that you wear a new face, you get a new body, but your eyes stay the same. So all the Boltons need to make sure that their heirs have pale blue eyes, which is why Roose kept Ramsay alive. He's going to wear his skin, and his eyes will not give anything away. And the reason he wants to keep Ramsay alive for now is to... And the reason why he doesn't care about Ramsay killing Daenerys or killing his children and says he wants him to be the heir isn't because he believes children are the bane of a... child lords are the bane of a house and he needs stability, but because he wants to flay Ramsay and become Ramsay when the time is right. Immortal, flaying, vampire creature wearing skin, bolting on skin. Is this true? No. In my opinion, no. It's a fun theory though. It's one of the classics. So I'll actually ask it in the chat. So bolt on, yes or no. That's simple. Is it real? Is it going to be revealed in the future, or is it just a fun theory? Thank you for the super chat from Coleshot once again, who asks, "How do you think face changing actually works?" I think it is magic. Believe it or not. Yeah, I think it's mysterious magic that we're never going to find out, because that kind of ruins the mystery. I don't think it's going to be like some things don't need explaining, you know? Like the Force. You don't need midichlorians. I think it's the same with the Faceless Men. You don't need okay, so it's this specific spell, and then here's the science behind it, and here's the logical magic behind it. You take I think all we know is that you have the skin of a face, you wear the face, some magic goes down, you turn into that person. Maybe it's sorcery, maybe it's connected to gods. The many-faced god. Who knows? Okay, Callum said it definitely does change your voice. We see the man who becomes Pate superficially. Yeah. Yes, that's a good point. Roose becoming Ramsay is risky because everyone hates Ramsay. Maybe that's why Roose will try and kill Ramsay, and will in fact try and have what if Roose... Hear me out. What if Roose Bolton kills Ramsay? Gets Fat Walder pregnant. She gives birth to a boy, an heir. Roose knows that he's going to die because everyone hates him in Winterfell. All the Northern Lords and Ladies want to kill him. So he flays his child and becomes a baby. Baby Bolton theory. You're hearing it here for the first time. For the first time. The Baby Bolton theory. Thank you to Ahmed for the super chat. Ahmed says, I think Leathers will slay all the Boltons. Who is Leathers? Who's Leathers? Oh, unless you mean... Oh, you mean Leatherface. Oh, from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, they wouldn't... Ooh, they wouldn't stand a chance against him. They wouldn't... Yeah. Leatherface would tear Roose in half. Ramsay would put up a bit more of a fight, but eventually his falchion will be thrown away and his guts will be torn out by the chainsaw. You better spread this shit, the baby Bolton theory. It's true. Roose is going to kill Ramsay and wear the skin of his baby child with Walder Frey, with Fat Walder. It's going to happen. We've all got our theories. Quinna GM has the Wyman Manderley pink letter theory. Glidus has Tyrek as a horse. This is mine. Baby Bolton. Spread the message. Spread the word. The Valyrian Steel Chainsaw Massacre. Yo, that goes hard. You know what? I definitely will do a Valyrian Steel weapon video in the future, by the way, everyone. But there's not enough of a variety of Valyrian Steel weapons. We have a Valyrian Steel dagger. Yeah. We have a Valyrian Steel sword. That's pretty cool. We have one mention of a Valyrian Steel axe. But that's it. Oh, Valyrian Steel armor as well. Allegedly, Euron is wearing Valyrian Steel armor. But is that it? Where are all the other Valyrian Steel weapons? My patrons were talking about this in the Discord. They were talking about a Valyrian Steel mace. How epic would it be? A Valyrian Steel mace. That's cool. Okay, so awesome, yeah. So let's move on to the next theory. So we have now completely gone beyond the iceberg, and we're in the dark, dark depths of the sea. I do have to wrap up rather shortly, so if anyone has last call for super chats, I think, any specific questions, suggestions, theories, or you just want me to say something dumb out loud and not be able to complain about it, go ahead. We're going to do one more theory, and then I think, well, I need dinner. It's nearly 8:30. I'm a hungry boy over here, and I nearly said the UK, but I mean Guantanamo Bay, because obviously you guys know that's where I live. So the final theory we'll look at is Rogar the Huntsman hunted men. So if you remember from my video, there are 3 named Red Kings, 3 named Bolton Kings of yore. There's Royce II, who sacked and burned Winterfell. There's Royce IV, known as Royce Redarm, who similarly sacked and burned Winterfell, but he was known as Royce Redarm because he would tear out the entrails of his enemies and his prisoners. And then there was Rogar the Huntsman. Now, unlike the Redarm, we don't know why the Huntsman is called the Huntsman. Leathers is a Night's Watchman. Is he? Did I misinterpret Leathers? When I said 8:30, I'm at 20:08. 20, not half past. I round things up to insane degrees. If it's 20 past, I will say 8:30. If it's 10 to, I will say. If it's 10 to 8, I will say 8. Are you gaslighting me? Is there actually a Night's Watch member called Leathers? There is. Holy shit! I thought you were doing a leather. I genuinely thought you were like, well, Leatherface. Leatherface would kill all the Boltons. I was like, cool. Irrelevant, but cool. Oh, end the poll. No, most of you say no, Bolton will not have an... Although, 43% saying yes, Bolton is true. Come on, guys. You got to be trolling, right? There's no way. Yes, well, my bad. I'm being told off by the chat for not recognizing that famous character, Leathers. I definitely am going to do a video, by the way. You know I've teased every Frey explained. Well, in the future, you better believe there is going to be every Night's Watch member explained. That's coming in the future, don't you worry. I don't know how long away, but it is coming. Okay, let me look this up. Leathers is a member of the Free Folk of the Haunted Forest who joined the Night's Watch. Cool. He's one of the 63 Free Folk that Jon Snow takes to Castle Black from Molestown. He joins the Night's Watch. He swears his vows with other recruits, including Satin. Leathers talks to the giant in the old tongue. That's pretty cool. And he's now the Master at Arms at Castle Black. Okay. There's lots going on in Dance. That character specifically is drifted away, unfortunately. Okay. So, let's go on to this. Yeah, so, Rogar the Huntsman. Why is he called the Huntsman? We don't know. We're not told. The story never tells us. The lore, the background lore, the histories never tell us. So the theory here is that he's called Rogar the Huntsman because he hunted men. That he would track people down and hunt them, and that what Ramsay is doing with peasant girls is sort of a more simplistic, bastardized version of a genuine cultural ritual that has persisted throughout the generations of House Bolton, that is far less infamous than the flaying, but it's still there. And that Ramsay's just copying what his ancestors done, you know? Now, it could be that Rogar the Huntsman didn't hunt men, or women, or children, generally, but Starks specifically. Right? The rivalry between the Boltons and the Starks. Maybe it all started because the Boltons hunted the Starks. And so the meta parallel here isn't the Boltons being vampires, it's Boltons being werewolf hunters, with the Starks representing the werewolves, or literally being wargs. Maybe the Starks would warg into wolves and direwolves to attack the Boltons in battle back in the day, and the Boltons developed a culture of hunting down direwolves. Maybe. I don't know. Or maybe George was just creating the lore and Rogar the Huntsman sounded like a cool name. Could be that. Maybe. Okay. So we have 3 more theories, and I think we will leave this to the stream tomorrow. We'll have to talk about more in the stream tomorrow, because I don't think there's enough here for... There's not enough here for just a whole stream, so we can do these 3 and maybe do something fun afterwards. Last call for any questions or comments or super chats or anything you want to let me know. Yeah, Ramsay trying to restore an old Bolton tradition. That's the idea. What are you going to say? Boomler. Maintaining a good... Yeah, Fancy Haven's maintaining a good 3-meal-a-day diet while I haven't eaten dinner for the past week. Gotta stay healthy, Boomler. Gotta have your dinner. Have some delicious Polish food. Oh, thank you for the super chat, Cole Shot, once again. You start a long list of being in debt with videos. Yeah, I need to stop announcing that I have video ideas, because it's just gonna keep piling up. Let's call it a series. The new series in the future will be every something explained. For example, every Frey explained, every Night's Watch member explained, maybe every Lannister explained, because there's a bunch of them, every Tyrell explained, because my upcoming Tyrell video isn't going to have enough, it's not going to talk about every single one. Have I announced that yet? Is that my official announcement? I think that might be. Yeah, okay. Oh, okay. Surprise, everyone. The next live stream, next Friday, will be about the history of House Tyrell, and it will be a cheeky collaborative video. I'll be collabing with a classic YouTuber. A classic A Song Vice and Fire YouTuber. He'll help me with this video, and I'll be in a video on his channel, and we'll both be talking about House Tyrell. I did mention this, right? On my Monday live stream? No, Saturday live stream? I can't remember. Perfect. Okay, well, see, I got 100 views. I think I maxed out at like 150 in the past when I had Quinn on. That's pretty good. You guys like the Boltons. You're interested in the Boltons. Again, I'd like to stay for longer, but I need to eat. But I will be here tomorrow to talk about Ramsay murdered Little Walder Frey. Ramsay is not Roose's son, and Night's King Bolton. And because that's not long enough for an entire stream, I'll probably do some other fun stuff with you. I'm not sure what yet, but you can come up with it. You can tell me what you want me to do. The Alt-X collab. Yeah, I'm not big enough for an Alt-Shift-X collab. I don't think anyone is big enough for an Alt-Shift-X collab. I don't think he actually does collabs with anyone other than Glidus. That's a friendship forged in fire. Can't wait to hear about Mace the Ace. Well, here's the thing. My video is going to be called The History of House Tyrell. Again, the first ever Great House history video I'm doing, because a lot of them will take longer and I'd have to take like more weeks off to create them. Whereas House Tyrell, I can do that in a couple of weeks. And on the person I'm collabing with his channel, there'll be a theory video relating to House Tyrell, maybe specifically relating to Mace the Ace himself, but I won't go into too much detail. Forest of Doom? Oh yeah, shit, Forest of Doom. Yes, well, yes. I'd want those to be two separate streams though. I wouldn't want Forest of Doom to be in the Bolton stream. But maybe. Maybe another Forest of Doom stream. For those who don't know, I'm doing I'm going through a 90s choose your own adventure fantasy book called Forest of Doom, and I'm streaming it every now and then on the YouTube, and everyone who comes to see it, all 15 of them, get to vote on every choice I make, literally every choice. So it's like, do I go east or west? Do I fight this thing? Do I fight the monkey man? Do I arm wrestle this guy? Do I wear the crown and turn into a giant fire demon and have to start again? Yes. Thank you for voting for that, by the way. That was really helpful. But yeah, that's in my live streams if you want to check that out. Or, you know what? I changed my mind. I think doing a second stream, going through the Bolton theories, there's not going to be enough. It's going to be 3 theories, and then I guess I could just chat to the... No, I'm going to finish this video. I'm going to finish this now. I think tomorrow I'm going to do a Forest of Doom live stream for my Forest of Doom enjoyers, and new people who haven't watched them, come along anyway. You vote on what I get to do. It's a fun, charming, cheesy fantasy choose your own adventure. I'm going to do these theories now. Yeah, even though I've lost 20 odd viewers since saying I'm wrapping up. Let's finish this, shall we? Just for you guys. I'm hungry, but let's finish it up. Okay. So, further down into the dark depths of the ocean, Ramsay murdered Little Walder Frey. So the theory behind this one is that Little Walder Frey, the Frey child, he's Ramsay's squire. He's a big fat bully. He's not very nice. And his cousin, Big Walder Frey, I'll try not to get confused here, finds him dead in the snow. And Hostine Frey brings him into the Great Hall and accuses the Manderleys, and it's all chaos. The theory here is that it's a Preston Jacobs theory. I think he's the originator. I'm not 100% sure, but his theory is that Ramsay got pissed off at Big Walder because he was at Little Walder because he was in a bad mood, and then murdered him, and then is trying to cover it up, or that he is deliberately trying to deliberately stir up chaos and tension, trying to deliberately eject the Freys who are loyal to Roose, so have Roose send the Freys out to fight Stannis so that they don't cause too much chaos. And in doing so, by getting rid of all his loyalists, that leaves Roose vulnerable to be murdered by Ramsay. To be poisoned by his enemies, perhaps. But what's the evidence behind this theory? So, to start off with, Hostine Frey, so stupid, walks in with Little Walder's corpse. It's covered in frozen blood. Despite being covered in frozen blood, Big Walder Frey claimed that he just found him. And the argument is, well, why is his blood? It can't be that cold that his blood is already frozen. How long ago did he die? If maybe he died longer ago than we're being led on, because it was a conspiracy by Ramsay. Another thing is that Hostine claims the body is butchered like a hog, which is very similar wording to how Roose describes Ramsay's fighting style earlier in the book. He says, "Ramsay is ferocious, I will grant you, but he swings that sword like a butcher hacking meat." And also, when Big Walder announces he found the body, Ramsay immediately starts shouting at him, saying, "Name the culprit and I'll skin him alive." And then Big Walder's response is nervous and hesitating. Perhaps Ramsay's threatening him as a witness or an accomplice, and he's trying to turn the attention away from him. So, yeah. Maybe. Maybe. I just don't really know what the point is necessarily. I don't necessarily know the point of Ramsay. Like, doing it so that there's more chaos so that he can get away with killing Roose feels a bit... Even for Ramsay, that feels a bit dumb. And it just being that he randomly killed him because he was angry and then he's trying to cover it up and that stirred up tension. Maybe, but I don't know, maybe. But yeah, I've probably represented that theory pretty poorly, actually, because I prepared for this quite last minute as usual. So check out Preston Jacobs' video called "A Fray in the Snow." I think it's called "A Fray in the Snow" for more detail. Right, the next one is another Preston Jacobs theory, which is Ramsay is not Roose's son. So it's quite simple. This one is that Ramsay doesn't look like Roose. Ramsay is big boned. He's looks like he's going to turn to fat in his older age. He's got splotchy skin. He's got disgusting, thick, worm-like lips. He's got a broad, flat nose. The only similarity he has are the eyes. And so he doesn't look like Roose. He also doesn't look like his mother, because the one description we have of his mother is that Roose said his mother was willowy and pretty, pretty for a commoner, And, pretty and willowy, which means tall and slender. That doesn't sound like Ramsay either. So, maybe Ramsay's father looks like Ramsay. Maybe Roose isn't Ramsay's father. It was some random dude, and and the miller's wife, Ramsay's mother, exploited the fact that she was raped to get support from Roose Bolton and go, "Yep, there we go, I have your bastard son," to get Roose Bolton to send her grain and chicken and coins and servants and so on. Why they have pale eyes? Maybe it's just a thing that happens in the north, genetically. The theory is not very strong. There's not much point to it. This is based on memory. I haven't recently watched that Preston Jacobs video. Again, check that out. I'm probably misrepresenting it, but I think it's kind of unnecessary. It's a kind of a non-theory. It's like, why? Like what's the point? Yeah, you can tell this is a classic Preston theory in reference to the previous one, someone saying this. You can tell it's a classic Preston theory by the fact that its core evidence is that it might not have been very cold at Winterfell that night, and the word butchered is used. Another part of his theory involved Roose Bolton yawning, or Ramsay yawning, and then saying that he'd been up all night. And the idea being that he's lying. Wait, no, what was the argument? What was his argument? It was either Roose or Ramsay yawning because I can't remember, but the implication was that a character shouldn't be yawning if they're tired, which makes no sense. Yeah, it was, they said they were up last night, but they're yawning. Why would they be yawning? You only yawn when you wake up. Or it's the reverse of that. But either way, I was like, even for Preston, that's stretching it. I can't remember. I'll need to double check that. But, yeah. The final theory here is the one, the only, Night King Bolton. So the Night King was the 13th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. From the Age of Heroes, allegedly, he married a white-skinned woman with blue eyes, and people suspect that it was a White Walker. He ruled as the Night's King, with her as the Night's Queen, from the Night Fort. And he committed various atrocities, and he sacrificed people to the others and so on. And eventually he was taken down by King Bran the Breaker, King Bran Stark, and the King Beyond the Wall, King Joramun. And that whole situation is apparently why the Night's Watch castles don't have walls to the south, that they're open to the south, because there will never be a threat from the south if they are not acting like tyrants, right? And there are a load of theories about who the Night's King is and why he was doing sacrifices to others and the link to Craster and who he blah blah. But this theory comes from the fact that while telling tales to Bran, Old Nan claims that the Night's King may have been a Bolton. So maybe there's a link between the Boltons and the others. Perhaps the Boltons are descended from the Night's King and his other bride, which is why they have pale eyes, because they are part other. Maybe that explains their creepy, icy demeanour. But at the same time, Old Nan does chat a lot of bullshit. And Old Nan also says while the Night's King may have been a Bolton, it could also have been an Umber, or a Flint, or a Nori, or whatever. So, probably not. But hey, that's Old Nan for you. Okay, there we have it, I believe. We've gone through the Bolton theory iceberg, and I believe my live stream for tomorrow will be the Forest of Doom, Choose Your Own Adventure. And next Friday, look out for the history of House Tyrell on my channel, and a special theory video on someone else's channel, and I'll reveal that in the future. If you like this video, well, genuinely like it, that does help with the channel and it spreading, so on. Comment on it after the stream is over, that helps boost it. If you're not subscribed already, what are you doing? You gotta subscribe. You have no choice, sir. Subs don't actually matter, like, analytically. In terms of growth, subscriptions don't matter at all. It's really fascinating. Like, you check your analytics and it's like 29k viewers saw this video on the homepage, 400 saw it on their subscriptions. It's like, oh shit. Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. And also, before I leave, I do want to say thank you so much for being great fans and for, helping this channel grow, because the Bolton video is doing well. 30k views in a week. That's the best any of my videos have ever done. As my patrons have pointed out in the Discord, why are you surprised that a video about a popular house that's in the show is doing well compared to niche shit? Yeah, that's a good point. But nonetheless, thank you for being an amazing audience. If there are no more questions, no more comments, no more super chats, then I believe it's time to wrap up. I'm going to have some dinner. I can't remember what I'm having for dinner, but I'm going to have it anyway. See you hopefully tomorrow at the Forest of Doom live stream. Love you all. You're amazing. Take care. And as always, I'll see you at the next Darkling stream.